Hey, it's Kyle here, and today I guess it's kind of an exciting moment, but at the same time a little bit of a bittersweet one as well, as I review the final episode of The Bad Batch, The Cavalry Has Arrived. This review will include spoilers, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, please stop, go watch the finale, and then come back and watch this review. I have no idea why you want to watch this review before you watch the finale, so please watch the episode first. Otherwise, this review is going to spoil it for you. And with that warning out of the way, let's talk about The Cavalry Has Arrived. So first off, I should say I was very happy when I turned on Disney Plus this morning and I saw the episode length time is 51 minutes. I was so afraid going into the finale that we were going to get a normal length episode in the 20-minute range, you know, that 24 to 28-minute range that most of them have been taking place so far this season. And nothing wrong with a regular length episode, but for finale, and there was so much left to be wrapped up. I was like, I don't have an idea of how they could do all this in a satisfying way in just a regular length episode. Please give us a long episode. So I was so happy and relieved when I turned on Disney Plus this morning and I saw 51 minutes. I was like, yay, we're getting the extended length episode. So that definitely got my viewing experience off to a fun start. So the episode got off to a really cool start. I was really hoping we would see interaction between Hemlock and Rampart, and we get that right at the beginning. And I love how they're both trying to present themselves on the superior position. Rampart basically saying like, you've screwed up. The batch is here. This base is supposed to be secret. Clearly you're not doing a good job. If they figured it out, you're going to be in trouble. And Rampart, feeling like, I've just dug it into Hemlock, and then Hemlock replying back like, what do you mean? I knew the batch was coming. I knew they would show up. I was counting on it. And you have nothing to offer the Empire, and I am indispensable. And you can kind of see Rampart just kind of like, I think that was his last hope. Maybe he had this little moment where he could kind of weasel something out of Hemlock, but he's just in a prison cell now. And neat little moment, he looks across the cell, and then he sees in the hallway across him is Nala Say, basically the person he put into prison. So that was a very poetic moment. Then we get the really cool interaction between Emery and Echo, and I'm really glad we got so much of Echo and Emery in this episode. Echo, the first half of the season, was almost like he was forgotten, so I've been so happy in the last few episodes he has become a huge part of the storyline, and in some ways maybe the member of the batch who gets the biggest storyline outside of Omega. So I was really glad to see that continued in the finale, and also that we got a lot more with Emery. I was kind of expecting that. I'm glad when it started off as clear that it wasn't like Echo was going to break away from Emery pretty quickly, that they were going to be in it together for the bulk of this episode. So Emery kind of explaining why Omega is important and why the other kids are there, and then trying to figure out like how can we get Omega out of here. So it's very early on when you're like, all right, Emery is in this and she seems completely low, and I don't think she is actually still kind of on the fence. She's fully on the clone side now, and I was very happy to see that. So then we go to Omega and the kids, and we kind of see the beginning of their escape plan. Obviously, we kind of knew elements of it from the last episode, that we knew the escape route was probably going to be through the wall, and it was pretty safe to say that the Zillow Beast was going to be involved in some way. But like how Omega was going to be able to get all the kids out with the guards not noticing wasn't clear exactly, and I will say that like how Omega pulled it off was something I hadn't really even thought of, but she uses skills that I'm like, imagine, stuff that Tech taught her to be able to reprogram the droid that kind of does the experiments on the kids and kind of also guards them. And then when the Imperial scientist comes down to see like, hey, what's going on here, Omega's reprogrammed the droid to knock out the Imperial scientist and basically then guard the door to allow the kids to escape. So even though Tech is no longer with the batch, the skills he taught Omega basically made it possible for her to escape. And I thought that was a really nice moment and something I hadn't really thought about, like her pulling out some droid reprogramming skills to help in the escape plan. But I thought that was a really neat moment. And from there, one thing I wasn't sure. I knew the Zillo Beast was going to play a role in this, but I wasn't sure how soon. And this happened a lot quicker. I thought this might be a part of the finale, like right at the end the Zillo Beast is released. No, we get it right away. Omega is able to release the Zillo Beast, and very quickly the Zillo Beast is just wreaking havoc on the Imperials and everything in Mount Tantus. It went sideways very quickly for the Imperials. So once that shield went down that was kind of keeping the Zillo Beast in his little tank, the Zillo Beast was on a rampage, and there was nothing the Imperials seemed to be able to do to slow the Zillo Beast down. And I love the moment when you get like the rest of the batch, like Hunter and Wrecker and Crosshair, see the Zillo Beast like escaping from Mount Tantus, and they kind of look at each other and go like, "Oh, Omega." I love that when they know immediately when they see that, like, "Oh, Omega's trying to help her escape." So that was very, very cool. I will say I was a little surprised also that the Zillo Beast wasn't around Tantus the entire episode. I thought that'd be kind of a lurking threat, but instead, pretty quickly he's able to make its way out of the base, but not before, as we later find out, like destroying a couple divisions of Imperials. So definitely thinning out the guard pole that the batch and the other clones have to deal with, and just wreaking havoc overall in Mount Tantus. So I guess the Zillo Beast is now living free and wild around Mount Tantus, and maybe starting a little Zillo Beast family. I don't know how Zillo Beast reproduce, but I'm glad we kind of got a very cool Zillo Beast element to this storyline, and it wasn't just forgotten after the Zillo Beast was introduced earlier in the series. It is a good thing that Omega was able to pull out the Zillo Beast miracle, because Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair were not doing well. Wrecker was injured, Crosshair's hand is acting up again, and so it wasn't really clear how they were going to be able to successfully get into Mount Tantus before the Zillo Beast begins to wreak havoc. So like that was perfect timing, and it allowed them to get in, and again showed like every member of the batch played a role in pulling this mission off, which I loved. So another part of the storyline that happened earlier in the episode than I was expecting was members of the batch finding Omega. So it's Echo and Emery finds Omega and the other kids, and the way they did it made very sense why they decided to do this so early in the episode. A very smart decision is like, we need to get these kids off this base so people are just not stressed out about some of these young Force-sensitive kids getting killed in the action. So Emery takes the young Force users off the planet, so we don't have to worry about any of those getting killed. They all successfully escape. And I'll say that's one of my first predictions were wrong. I kind of thought Emery was going to have to sacrifice herself for Omega and the other clones to escape. And instead, she gets a happy ending. I'm very happy with how her storyline developed. But with the kids gone, now Echo and Omega focus on like, all right, we need to get the rest of the clones out of here and also find the rest of the batch. They quickly find out that the rest of the batch have been captured because Hemlock has activated the kind of the special force troopers, and those troopers actually kick the batch's butts. And so they've been taken prisoner. Omega and Echo happen to see them being taken down the hallway, and so now not only do they have to try to figure out how do we release the rest of the clones, but we need to save our brothers. We need to save the rest of the batch. Small little moment during the middle of the episode that I really loved is, things are being so chaotic. Hemlock is notified like, hey, Tarkin's on the phone for you. And just that little moment is like, oh, awesome. Because I had a feeling, and I wasn't the only one, that some other Imperials, probably Tarkin, at the first sign of trouble on Tantus, would be after Hemlock. The Imperial High Command is all about power struggles, and not exactly helping out their fellow officers, but figuring out, oh, if somebody's in trouble, how can I take advantage of it and increase my power? So, one of the first things that Kimlock realizes, like, I need to wrap this up quick, because if things are still going sideways by the time Tarkin gets here, I am going to be in some serious, serious trouble, even though he tries to play it off cool. And one thing I'll say that I really enjoyed about Hemlock the entire episode is he never lost his cool. He felt like he was in control the entire time. He never lost his confidence. We never saw Hemlock break. One of, if not the best villains that Star Wars has ever created, especially for the animated stuff that's original, a new character that wasn't coming from another thing, a previous movie, book, comic book, or something like that. The character of Hemlock was amazing. Such an evil villain that it was so fun to root against. We get next a happy moment. We see the clones break out by Echo and Omega, and Nala Se is also freed. I love the fact that Rampart's off there and Omega just ignores him. Either she doesn't recognize him, or she's like, I could care less about you. All I care about is the clones and Nala Se and helping them get out of here. And a great moment, we get the clones basically who are able to fight, the ones who aren't too eager, very quickly volunteer to help Echo and Omega attempt to rescue the rest of the batch. And we also have Nala say, like, hey, look, I can't help with that, but I need to destroy this research, because if y'all escape and Hemlock's research still exists, you'll never be safe. This is up to me. I need to destroy what they've been doing, which I thought was a very logical point. I assumed, I never really even thought about that, so I like the logic behind Nala Se's thoughts, which again makes sense. The Kaminoans are a very logical species, and they're always looking at it like from that point of view, and not really letting emotions play as big of a role. So instead of like her just being desperate, like, get me out of here, it's more like, no, I need to do this or you'll never be safe. And I think you have a feeling there that actually knows, like, I'm probably not going to make it out of here, but I need to do this to kind of right the wrongs that I've done in my life. Because, if you've watched the Clone Wars, Nala Se did some very, very bad things. So this is her chance to kind of earn a little redemption. One element of the storyline that I kind of forgot until I saw mentioned in I think the last Star Wars Explained after show for the Bad Batch, where it's brought up about the gas that Hemlock has that can kill clones. And I kind of completely forgot about that until that was brought up in the after show. So that did play a role in this episode as Echo and Omega and their other clone troopers arrive to try to free the batch, where we learn that Hemlock has captured them and is going to attempt to turn them into his special forces troopers and condition them to be, his personal soldiers. And he unleashes the gas. Luckily, before all the clones are killed, a lot of them are, Omega, as she's kind of trying to free the rest of the batch, is able to kind of disable the gas so it's not constantly pumping out. Because I was afraid for a minute, like, oh, is this how we're going to lose Echo? This would suck if he dies because of the gas. But I thought that was a good throwback from earlier part of the series. It would have been weird looking back at it if this big clone attack on Tantus and that gas was just never used again. So it's a nice way to use that, but also explain why it wasn't able to wipe out all the clones. It was nullified somewhat quickly. And then we get, for me, one of my favorite moments of the episode, the scene with Rampart and Nala Se, is kind of Rampart kind of starts following Nala Se around and kind of like what she's up to. She gets in the lab. We see her have taken a grenade off a fallen trooper. She runs in the hallway, and she is getting ready to destroy the research station. Rampart kind of stops her and pulls a gun on her and is like, tell me all about this research. Tell me about Project Necromancer. Now, the frustrating part, it cuts away and we don't get the full explanation, but we all kind of know what it is. We know it's the same research they're doing that we see later in The Mandalorian, and then it plays a role in Palpatine's clone and stuff like that. But it's kind of a nice little tease, like, hey, we're not going to fully tell you what they were doing here at Tantus. But we cut back to them, Rampart thinks, this is my key. I can use this to get back with the Empire, or at least buy my freedom. And he shoots Nala Se. And I think Nala Se kind of knows this is going to happen because she's already activated the grenade. So when she falls dead, the grenade rolls loose and Rampart realizes, oop, I've screwed up. And it blows up. And that's the end of the story for Nalase and Rampart. I'm glad Rampart didn't make it out. The last couple of episodes, I've really enjoyed his reintroduction into the storyline. But at the same time, I didn't feel like he deserved a redemption arc. I also didn't want him to see him escape. He did so many bad things, like he deserves to be punished. And I think Nalase taking him out was a very poetic moment, given what he did to Camino and wiping out basically their entire species. So the fight sequence between the Batch and those special forces troopers was very, very cool, very high stakes. This entire time this fight was happening, there were several moments where I thought like, oh, I don't think Wrecker is going to make it. Or is Hunter fixing to get killed? Oh, is Crosshair fixing to be killed? Is Echo fixing to be killed? Kind of going into this finale, I kind of thought one member of the Batch would die. And I would say this is the moment of the episode when they were fighting these kind of troopers that I thought, like, I'm afraid one of them's not going to make it. It was a very well done fight scene. I enjoyed it, like, you know, clearly this was a very even match. You didn't know who was going to win. But in the end, I think it was, you know, the Batch really so focused on, like, we have to save Omega and get out of here, that gave them the extra motivation to basically fight harder, fight together to defeat these troopers and make it out all safely. I was very happy but surprised when that fight ended, like, oh, they've all made it. Maybe everybody's going to get out of here. Now, I was still afraid. It's like, are they getting our hopes up and going to kill somebody right at the end? But as you know, we find out, like, no, the Batch makes it. But this is definitely the moment in the episode that I was the most worried, like, oh, one of them's not going to make it. And I would say during the fight scene, Wrecker was the one I was the most worried about because he had been so injured. I could see him thinking, like, I can't make it out of here. I'm going to do one thing to kind of take out these troopers so Wrecker and Crosshair can get out of here. But happily, that didn't have to happen. And then we get this really cool showdown with Hemlock doing something honestly very smart, you know, handcuffing himself to Omega, because like he realizes, like, if I keep Omega next to me, the members of the Batch won't be able to kill me, and I'll be able to take Omega with me. I'll kind of be able to use her as my escape tool. Clearly, he's abandoning Tantus. I don't know what his plan is maybe he's like, all right, I'm gonna have to leave and have the Imperials kind of help me take it back, or set my research somewhere else. But before he can make his getaway, Crosshair and Hunter show up, and Crosshair's disabled his ship very early on, and we get this cool little showdown on this kind of bridge over this big abyss, where, you know, Hemlock is holding Omega closely. Omega is kind of flashing hand signs to Hunter and Crosshair, and, you know, and Crosshair's like, I can't make the shot. And Hunter's not like, we believe you. You know, Omega believes in you. I believe in you. You can do this. I absolutely love that moment. And I love that in the end, the two clones that defeat Hemlock were the two that he imprisoned and did research on. You know, Omega hits him and kind of is able to get some separation, but also raise their hands in the air. They're handcuffed together. Crosshair is able to shoot the handcuffs off them and then quickly shoot Hemlock and knock him over the bridge, and we see Hemlock tumble to his death. Very poetic that, again, the two clones that he messed with the most, Omega and Crosshair, are the ones at the end that bring the end of the story to Hemlock. And I think is when this happens, like, oh, like, everybody's going to get out of here. This is amazing. I did not expect this to happen, but very well done and a very satisfying conclusion to the Hemlock storyline, and in reality, the Mount Tantus storyline. You know, we then see the Batch kind of escape off the planet, and I was wondering when they were in space, I was like, I bet you, like, the minute they leave, Tarkin and the rest of the Imperials will show up, and sure enough, that's what happened. We get a very quick scene with Tarkin, where we get another Imperial giving them the rundown, which I'm glad they did, so we didn't have any questions afterwards about what happened to Tantus. You know, we confirmation that Hemlock's dead. All his research has been destroyed. The base is a complete loss, and Tarkin's like, all right, just shut it down and divert all the funding to Project Stardust. So I'm glad we get, you know, there's no questions afterwards. Well, what's going on with Tantus? Did Hemlock survive? Kind of like some people wondered if Tex had survived last season when he fell. I'm glad we got all those answers. I guess the only thing left unknown about Tantus is what's the Zell Beast up to? And it will be curious to see if Tantus ever comes back in the future. Maybe somebody like Thrawn and Ahsoka will come back and like, hey, I know about this base. Maybe I want to go back and try to reactivate it. It'll be very interesting to see if Tantus ever pops up again. All right, and then we kind of get the wrap up at the end of the episode where we find out all the clones have kind of made it to Pabu. We see the Imperials had not stayed and occupied the planet. I think the reason behind that, I was trying to figure out the logic, but I think at least my own personal theory is those forces that had captured Omega and attacked Pabu were Hemlock's forces, and Hemlock was not really looking at like occupying planets and expanding his own personal little fiefdom. He was just after Omega. So once he got that, all his forces were going to go back to Tantus or other places that he was doing research. So he wasn't really interested in kind of like setting up his own little personal planet that he's going to be in charge of. So at least that's my own personal logic behind why the Imperials left Pabu. But we see that the clones have made it. They're safe on Pabu. It's very quickly clear that, the Batch is going to make a home in Pabu, except Echo, because Echo's going to go back to what he was doing early in the episode, and being a part of the rebellion. The clones can do whatever they want to. They're free. They're free to make their own decisions. For the first time in their lives, they can be whatever they want to be. It was a very beautiful moment. We get this little, flash forward at the very end of the episode where we see Omega aged up, an older Hunter, as Omega has decided to join the rebellion because they need pilots, and we see Hunter basically, say like, all right, you're ready for this, but if you ever need help, just let us know. So I think now we'll have a lot of fun speculations, what battles was Omega in and stuff like that. But very beautiful end to the episode. A much more happy ending to the episode than I was expecting. I was expecting Omega and members of the Batch to make it, but I was expecting more people to have died, and really the only person that was on our side that had to sacrifice himself was Nala Se. For the most part, it was the Imperials that died. So we get a very happy ending for the clones in this series, which again, I was expecting more of a bittersweet ending where we'd have maybe Omega make it, but a lot of clones and a lot of members of the Batch dying along the way. A couple of things that surprised me at the episode. I was expecting more clones to actually come to Tantus to help, so I was expecting we were going to see Rex and a lot of the clones he'd set up in his operation coming and helping out with the Tantus rescue. We didn't see that. Instead, it was mainly the clones at Tantus that freed themselves. Makes sense, but I still was a little surprised that we didn't see Rex. And I was a little surprised that there were some of the friends we met along the way didn't play a role in the episode in some way, like Fee, for example. But overall, even with those couple surprises, I really enjoyed this finale. I thought they did an excellent job of wrapping up the series and giving us a satisfying conclusion. At the same time, the Batch is still there, Omega's still there, and I think if they ever want to do more storylines with these characters in books, comics, whatever, I think there's still possibility for that, which is very, very cool. Also at the end, when it was wrapping up, and a lot of people were wondering during the credits if there would be some sort of teaser about the next animated series, and there wasn't. But one thing I was kind of thinking of when I was waiting for that, is like, a lot of people would, speculated maybe the next series is Asajj Ventress and the Path, helping Jedi escape during the reign of the Empire. But I was thinking, as Omega was flying off to join the rebellion, who knows, maybe a fun animated series might be Omega as an adult and her role in the rebellion. That would be a very, I think, cool continuation of her storyline. Who knows what will happen, but that thought had popped into my head. So in the comment section below, let me know, what did you think about the finale? Did you enjoy it? Were you disappointed by it? What were some moments that really surprised you? What were some favorite moments you had for the finale? What were your thoughts overall on the series? Just let me know. Any thoughts you have about the Bad Batch, let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this review, hit that like button. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, thanks to everybody who's watched all my episode reviews for the Bad Batch. This series was amazing. Really loved it. And I can't wait for more animated content from Star Wars. So thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time. And may the Force be with you.